Brad, expecting Sean to get up to play this week?
We're hopeful. Yeah, he's a good chance, I think, but we'll probably give him right up until the last minute. And this process is probably longer than most people understand. It's not just a simple yes or no. Even though he passed all his tests at the end of last week, there's still a day-by-day ongoing process to see how he recovers from training and physical exertion.
Some very encouraging performances in the VFL. Will the likes of Mason Wood and maybe Taylor Garner be rewarded for their form?
Yeah, they'll. I think there's a fair chance they'll be in our squad. We'll see how everyone trains today, but they were really encouraging on the weekend in a pretty good team performance. And we were able to have the luxury of taking a few guys off in the third quarter. So, and we did that to give us extra flexibility with selection this week. So yeah, they're definitely in the mix.
And Sam Wright obviously done a reasonable sort of stint in the VFL. How's he tracking, Brett, getting closer?
Yeah, he's exactly in that mix I spoke about. The recovery's been really good. He's had a really good solid block of training, and now he's got the match fitness to back that up too. So he's approaching that point where he's now available for selection, whereas previously he was, just needed to get games under his belt.
Did your review tell you about how you moved the ball inside forward 50 and how your forward structure worked last week?
I think Port defended us pretty well one-on-one. We think that having Waite and Brown and Zeeble, and with the potential of Wood and Garner, that we've got multiple options. But yeah, I can understand why our players are pretty keen to kick it to Brandy.
Is he reaping the benefits, I guess, of all the hard work he's done?
In what way?
Oh, just he's leading the Colburn at the moment. He really seems to be getting some reward for.
Oh yeah. I mean, we there is a reason we kick it to him, because he's so valuable down there. He's like most of the really good players in the competition. They work extremely hard, and most of the time they work harder than everyone else. People talk a lot about his set shot goal kicking, and for good reason, because it's accurate, because he's got a really solid routine and he works on it harder than anyone else. Which doesn't make a lot of sense, because some players who don't kick the ball so well for goal maybe should do a bit more practice.
Just with your competition committee hat on for a second, Brad, what have you made of the commentary around the state of the game this week?
We'll meet pretty soon and talk through all those things. But rather flippantly, I think it's you pull out the same story most years around about this time of year about the state of the game. Well, I prefer to take a much broader look at the game over a period of decades, and I would very, very confidently say the game has incrementally got better, not worse. And there'll always be the doomsayers every year who bemoan how good football used to be. Well, get out your old VHS tape and have a look at how good it used to be, because it's nothing like it is right now. So I think that we go week to week on these sorts of things. I think the game's in a pretty good state, but can it be better? And they're the questions that we've got to ask.
Nathan Buckley this morning was talking about getting rid of prior opportunity and said that would help with congestion. Have you any thoughts on that?
I do, but I'm reluctant to go into too much detail, because I think that's something that needs to be put on the table with the committee. But what I will say is that football has and always will start in a contest, and the player who makes the ball his objective and hunts the ball first should be given protection, both in terms of high contacts, holding the man, all those sorts of things. But my view, pretty simply, is that if he's making the ball his objective, it's very harsh to pin him when he hasn't had opportunity to distribute the ball. So, to me, the game should always protect the ball player.
We might as well go through them then. Interchange, do you have a view on what a reduction in interchange numbers would do to the game?
Yeah, I think I do initially, and I think that will be fairly obvious in terms of how the game unfolds, in terms of guys playing a bit longer in multiple positions, midfielders going forward, etc., those sorts of things. But I'm a bit unsure at the moment as to the flow-on effect and the unintended consequences, because my concern is that if you make too drastic a change and then we have a spate of injuries, for example, that are attributed to lower interchange, then the risk is that we have to change it back. And I wouldn't like to see the game sort of change drastically from year to year. I think sorry?
Would they park the bus to conserve energy? Is that another?
Yeah, but it depends. I mean, you can. I think a lot of fans say, gee, we'd love to see the return of the goal square full forward, and that's fine if the opposition fullback will stand next to him, but most of the time they won't. You know, football athletes are incredible these days at being able to get up and back, and you know, so there are all those sorts of things that you've got to take into account.
And zones? Yeah, you know, a designated number of pairs staying in zones?
Yeah, I think it's worthy of a trial at lower levels, maybe even junior levels, because that's what we want to see in junior footy. We want to see players demonstrate skill and develop one-on-one contesting ability. So a trial would be worthwhile, but to bring it straight into the AFL, I think's a bridge too far at the moment.
There's a flip side to that, though, isn't it? That some of that stuff is trialled in the under-18s, and yet there is a view that some players can get exposed when they come up to play AFL, where you don't have that and they can't cope with the congestion of marking contests and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean that's what overall development's for, and that's something we're really, a few of us are really passionate about, which is the development pathway and the junior pathway, to be able to develop all the skills. So contested marking, one-on-one contesting, being able to work your way through traffic. And they're things that can be trained. But as to what we want the final product of football to look like, I think there is merit to trialling that at junior levels and even in the second tier. But if we bring it straight into the AFL, it might have drastic changes to the way the game looks, and that could be concerning.
Looking at your upcoming match, you're taking on a weakened Sydney side with Lance Franklin and Dan Hanbury set to miss. Does that impact the way you look at Sydney?
It didn't seem to affect them too much last week, but albeit, you know, I think that you mentioned Hanbury and Franklin, and I'm not sure of the availability of Towers just yet, but they're about the three they've got. They're pretty healthy other than that.
Nick Blakey, Brad, disappointing to miss out on him, obviously nominating the Swans.
Yeah, he's a good player, Nick, and we've known him since he was a very young boy, and in fact I've known him for even longer than most at North, because I remember his dad was an assistant coach at Brisbane when he was born. So yeah, we've known him for a very long time, but you know, when he goes to school in Sydney, he's got all his mates in Sydney, his dad works at the Sydney Swans, it was going to be pretty hard to pry him out of Sydney.
Is there an ideal scenario in your mind with regard to the skipper in terms of up forward and in the middle, or is it very much on a weekly basis?
Well, we've been pretty public in the fact that we're trying to build a midfield. We've been very heavily reliant on Cunnington and Zeeble over a fair period of time, and so there's a bit of a twofold objective there, is to look at the best mix and look at our best forward structure, but also to give others opportunity in the midfield. But that won't be purely at Jack's expense. I mean, I still think that in an ideal world, right here, right now, we'd play Jack probably half-half, forward mid.
Jared Waite's flying, as you predicted pre-season.
Well, just let me clarify that. I think what I said was Jared Waite thinks his best footy is ahead of him, and I tend to agree with him. So I wasn't making any big statements there, but I'm not sure how it was reported, but it seems like it was reported that way.
Yeah. But he's been here before, so, and then he's been unlucky with injury or whatever.
Yep.
And that's been a sort of a common theme throughout his career. Are you going to plan anything different with his sort of physical preparation and stuff?
Yeah,
or just let the cards fall
no,
back?
it's a really hard one, because what you say is true. I mean, we can't argue with that. That's just been a fact. But we do a hell of a lot of work on monitoring him and making sure that if there's anything flagging, that we rest him, and we'll look after him at training today as well. So I mean, there are some things that we do, but you know, he's had some sort of direct impact injuries as well, and you never really prepare for them. But there's no doubt that with some other forwards becoming available, hopefully will give us the flexibility to look at rotating the mix through there.
Paul Hearn's form seems to be building nicely in the VFL. How close is he getting to a debut?
Yeah, he was in our squad last week and will be again this week. Played well in the VFL, particularly early when the game was sort of, you know, in the balance at the start, and he gave our VFL team real ascendancy. So he's starting to look more and more like he's ready for AFL footy.